Start. When we come to discuss the contents of the Quran, we have to divide the Quran into two sections concerning its revelation. They are known in the books written about the Quran as Makki and Madani, Makkan passages and Madinan passages. By Makkan passages is meant those verses and those surah which were revealed before the migration of the Prophet ﷺ to Medina. And by Madinan, those which were revealed after that. The place of revelation is not the one which is to be considered, but even the date. And the dividing factor is the hijrah, the immigration of the Prophet ﷺ from Makkah to Medina. Now, one must remember that Quran is a book of guidance. It includes the program for the reform of human being and to improve his life on earth. The subject of the Quran in reality is man, and all its discussions are directed to him. It teaches him what he is required to believe, what are his responsibilities in this life, and what type of work is good for him. It answers such questions which anyone with reason can have. The questions, for example, who is the creator of this universe? Who controls it and manages its affair? Who are we? From where did we come? Where are we proceeding to? And what are the objectives of our life on earth? These are the questions which may be asked by any person who has reason, who is thinking. And Quran gives answer to all this. Quran tells us that this earth, this universe, and all that it contains are created by Allah. And He is the only controller of all this. There is no any share from any other being in this control and management. And He created human being. He created him from clay, from mud, and made him superior to every other creature. He has been given certain duties to perform in this life. Allah gifted him with the power of hearing, seeing, and thinking. He has to use these powers in performing his duties so that he can get success in the life to come. This life, worldly life, is not the only life, and death does not mean the end, but it is just a transition from one life to another, and the other life is permanent, for which a very reasonable or sensible person, every reasonable and sensible person should try to make himself successful and to achieve better place in that world. When the content, the teaching of Quran in Makkah, they are different. In Makkah, the emphasis was on the identification of God. Who is Allah? What are His attributes? What are His work? How does He work in this universe? And then you will find that in the very first revelation which came to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, some of these points have been cleared. The Quran says, "Iqra bismi rabbik," read in the name of thy Lord. The word Rabb is used. In the beginning we notice that word Allah does not appear in the Quran, but rather the word Rabb is more commonly used in the early passages. Why? Because the word Allah, the meaning of it was not very clear to Arabs. Quran says that if you ask them who created you, they will say Allah. If you ask them who created the heavens and earth and who brings rain from the heaven, they will answer Allah. But who is Allah? Their thought about Allah was that there are many gods, and Allah is their chief. Allah is on the top of all these gods. So it was not very clear and view about Allah. It was mixed with kind of shirk, association of others in the power and in the work of God. So Quran brought Rabb because the meaning of Rabb was very clear to them. Rabb to them was the one who owns a thing, the one who takes care of it and then manages its affair and promotes it to its perfection. And this we understand that how Rabb was very clear from a story which we know that when the Abyssinian governor of Yemen, he tried to destroy Kaaba, he marched to Mecca with an elephant. And Meccans, of course, they were not able to meet that organized army. So they left the city and went to the mountains, left the whole city in the care of their God. So anyhow, when the army approached Mecca, they took any animal, any cattle they found on the way. So they captured some camel belonging to Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of the Prophet Muhammad. So Abdul Muttalib decided to go and meet the governor and ask him to return his camels to him. So when the governor learned that Abdul Muttalib, who was the chief of Quraysh at the time, is coming to meet him, he became very happy and thought that he is coming to surrender Kaaba to him. So he arranged things, place for meeting that noble person of Quraysh. But when Abdul Muttalib came, he said that, well, I have come here to ask your people to return my camel. He said, well, you disappointed me. I thought you have come to ask me, to beg me to spare your holy shrine, Kaaba, but you are asking about a few camels. So Abdul Muttalib's answer was that, look, I am the Rabbul Ibil. I am the owner of these camels. As far as house is concerned, falahu rabbun yahmihi. It has got its own lord, its own caretaker, and he is going to protect it. So Rabb, the one who owns, Rabb, who takes care, that was very clear. So Quran, in the very first instances, in all the first revelations, it spoke about Rabbaka. And also there is Rabbaka, Ka means your, Rabbaka, your Lord. There is also, we understand, there is a psychological direction that every person should think about the being who has brought him here in this world and who has taken care of him. So Rabbaka, it is your Lord who did it. So everyone should think about him as his personal Lord, particular Lord. So that is the one who created human being. So Iqra bismi rabbika allazi khalaq, created human being. Created from a very simple thing, from a clot of blood, from something very minor, insignificant, and then also the quality of Rabb is that he is very noble. Another thing which the indication is that human being should try to acquire that nobility and that honor which Allah mentioned about himself, that Iqra wa rabbukal akram, that your Lord is the most honorable being. So you also should try to protect your honor and make yourself honorable. And then that Lord is the one who taught by pen and taught human being what he did not know. The two other very important things are mentioned, that human being is not created with knowledge. He learns. He learns, or everyone acquires knowledge. And Allah provides him with tools and sources of learning. And another thing is pen. Allah mentioned is that very first revelation. Arabs, as we know, they were not people concerned with learning. Very few of them knew how to read and write. And then Quran refers them to pen, use of learning, try to learn, try to hold a pen. And pen remained a very important tool in the process of learning until very recently. Now the computer can take the place, you can say it. But earlier, before this, pen was the things which preserved the heritage of the past, which preserved the knowledge of the people who went ahead of us. So this is how Quran tried to identify Allah, the Rabb, the Lord, who created human being. And if He is the creator of human being had a duty, a right to perform to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has a duty to perform to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to acknowledge Him as a Lord and God alone, and worship Him and follow His commandment. So that was the very first teaching, to acknowledge Allah, to recognize Him, and to accept Him. And then it continues in many other early passages, referring to Allah as Rabbaka, your Lord. And then also very clearly mentioning His relation to human being, that He is their creator, He is the one who brought them in this life, and then also that there is no other being worthy of worship except Him. Because if He is the one who owns them, if He is the one who created them, then they should submit to Him, accept Him, and acknowledge His lordship. Then after that, Quran goes again further, saying that He is alone. He has got no partner. Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad. He is only one. There is no partner. He is not in need of anyone. He has no father, and He has no son. He is completely separate and away from creation. So He is Allah. And anyone who associates any other being to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not doing right thing, but really committing a very big offense. That is called a shirk. So the people should avoid shirk, association of other beings with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His power, in His attributes, in His worship. But rather they should devote themselves exclusively to Him and worship Him alone. So that was the first message which was given to Arabs. And they, of course, some of them accepted half of it. They acknowledged Allah, but of course together with their own gods. And the Quran condemned them. They said, no, this is not going to work. You have to acknowledge Allah alone as your Lord and as the object of worship. Then the other thing which Quran puts emphasis in this period is belief and in the day of judgment. Belief in life after death. You find that these two things are very common and very regularly mentioned in the Quran in early passages. Belief in Allah and belief in the day to come, day of judgment. And it was very, very important. And Quran mentioned later the wisdom behind this belief. And then said one thing, that it must be done. It must occur. It must happen. A day for the judgment of the people. A day for examining the people about their work in this life. Because there are many things which human being finds himself unable to judge, to know the reality behind them. What is right, what is wrong? We are debating about so many things. What is right, what is wrong? And we reach no conclusion at all. There are so many issues, not only religious, but even the temporal one, that the people continue debating and they don't reach a conclusion, a final judgment. That day, everything will be cleared. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that day has to come. لِيُبَيِّنَ لَهُمُ الَّذِي يَخْتَلِفُونَ فِيهِ. So Allah makes clear all those matters in which they have been disputing. So there must be a day. You know, in this world, judging by our own criteria, by our own sources, is not always right. You may see many cases here in this UK, for example. There were people who were arrested and put in prison. After 8-7 years, it was found out that they are not criminal. They were innocent. The judgment here is based on this kind of evidences which may not be true, or may happen to be false. So human beings' knowledge is very limited. What happened exactly will be known only on that day. So this is how it is. And then another thing is very important, that a man being put under pressure and maltreated by a strong person who had all kind of sources available to him, he treated those people with humiliation, with torture. He took their property, he killed many of them, and they could not do anything because he was very sourceful, very strong, and they were helpless. Where they are going to get justice? There must be a place where justice is done, and that wrongdoer gets the punishment for his wrong actions. That will be only in that world and on that day. That day nobody can deny what he has done. So justice, in order to make justice be established, there is necessity of a day to be established, to be found. Again, another thing, that this is about the necessity, that it is a necessary thing, it must happen so that justice can be done to the people who were deprived of justice in this world. And many other things must be made clear which the people failed to find answer to them. Then how it could be done? How it is possible that that day must be here, that life after death should happen? Quran speaks about this as well and shows the possibility of this by showing the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, giving example from this world, that look, you come to this world, you are nothing, you are created, then you become young man full of energy and power, then you go to old age, and then you die. So who did it? All this was done by Allah, the most powerful. So if he can do it the first time, he can do it the second time. And then also gave examples of earth, that look, earth becomes barren, it is dead, no life in it. And then rain comes, and then all of a sudden it is revived, it comes back to life. So all these things show that the God who created these things in the first place and brings life after death here on earth is capable of bringing dead people back to life. So Quran argues in this way on the possibility of resurrection of all those who have lived on this earth and died. And then what is the wisdom? Why should we believe in that? And that is very, very important, that this belief is not just a mere belief, we believe and then there is nothing. No, it has a very big impact on our action, on the action of human being. It gives a sense of responsibility to mankind, that he feels that all that he is doing, he is going to face them and answer if he has not acted rightly. So that sense of responsibility is to be created by belief in Akhirah, in life after death. Those people who denied, and even today the one who deny second life, they are those people who don't want to be responsible for their action. They don't want to answer for their actions to anyone. So they deny that there can be a day where Allah will gather them and He will make them answer about their actions. So this is how it is. But this is what Quran intended to create in the mind, sense of responsibility, and then a kind of a thought that all that they are doing is not in vain. It is going to be brought in front of them and they will have to answer. People who don't have this sense of responsibility, of course, they can go to an extent. But if a person believes in Akhirah, he will watch all his actions. Before doing anything, he will think twice. What he is going to do, whether it is going to be acceptable to Allah or it is going to be against his own interest. So he will think twice before doing it, and it will be a good deterrent to many people to commit a crime. Just to think about a Muslim. If he really believes in Akhirah, he believes that there will be a day when he will be asked to answer the question about his actions. Will he go and kill someone? Will he go and rob someone? Will he go and then rape someone? Will he go and do all kind of this nonsense and commit all these crimes? No. If he thinks really that he is going to face these crimes and he will be punished. A hadith saying that when an adulterer commits adultery, his iman does not stay with him. It goes out of him. That really gives that a sense of belief in Akhirah, because he forgets. He doesn't believe in Akhirah. That belief is no more with him. That is why he commits that crime. If the belief were there, he wouldn't have approached, he wouldn't have committed that crime. So that was one point when Quran insisted and tried Arabs to believe in it. The Arabs really did not believe in it. They found it unacceptable. They thought that this is not something which is possible. When a person dies, his body is decayed. It is mixed with dust and flown by air here and there. So how can he be brought back to life? And then Quran argues about the possibility and says it is Allah who created you the first time and he will create you the second time as well. So belief in Akhirah was another point which was very highly emphasized in Makkan Surah. And all the argument brought is about these natural phenomena, natural things, the star, the moon, the sun, and all these things, that they are created and they are working perfectly according to the command of God, command of Allah. So He is the one who controls them, so He will do all that. Then also another point which the Makkans mainly in the beginning they were asked to believe, and Quran put it, is about the prophethood of Muhammad. That he is a human being, no doubt about it. But Allah chose him to carry the message, his message to mankind. So he has been given this prestigious position and he is doing it. And in this he is not unique. Many other prophets came before him. They brought a similar message. Message was the same. Throughout the history and throughout this number of prophets, the message of Allah was the same. Acknowledge Him, His authority, and worship Him alone. And then how to do it, follow the messenger. So it was taqwa of Allah, fear of Allah, worship of Allah, and then obedience and following the prophet, the messenger who has come. Because he is going to guide you, to tell you what to do. So Muhammad is the last of this series, and he has come to you, to Makkans and all mankind, to teach you how to come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how to make your life better. This life as well as the second life in the hereafter. So belief in the Prophet was also very essential matter, and the position of Prophet Muhammad was clarified and very clearly mentioned to Arabs of the time. And when they believe in Muhammad, they also must believe in all other prophets. These are the people whom Allah chose to carry His message, and they came and fulfilled their duty. And then also Quran indicated that the messengers were not always wholeheartedly accepted by the community, but they were opposed. In many cases they were opposed. They were really tortured. They were afflicted with all kind of problems and troubles. The community caused them all kind of troubles in order to stop them from their mission and to hinder their work. But they continued, they exercised patience, and they remained firm and steadfast in their work. And at the end, Allah's support to them came. Allah supported them, and they survived, and their enemies, their opponents, were destroyed. A very clear indication to Makkans that, look, do you want the history to be repeated? Do you want to follow the footsteps of those people who came before you? The one whom their messengers called them to the right path and they refused? You are doing the same thing. So be aware of the consequences of what you are doing. It is very easy for Allah to destroy. You are not stronger than the people of Ad, the people of Samud, who built and carved houses inside the mountain. And their power and strength was so great that they thought that there is no one at all who is greater and more powerful than themselves. Allah said that they forgot that the one who created them is more powerful than themselves. So Allah is saying to Makkans, giving this indication to them that, look, they were destroyed. They were destroyed, and then their power and strength did not work. They were destroyed by wind which came and blew them away. They were destroyed by a mighty thunder which dropped them on the ground. Pharaoh, who was so powerful and so magnificent, he built so many palaces and also were full of the conscience of his power and boasted that even river Nile flows below his foot. What happened to him? He was drowned. It was Allah who managed to get him drowned. So if these people can be destroyed, they can be punished, they can just be annihilated, who are you, Makkans, living in the tents? You are nothing compared to them. So make your future safe and be follower of Muhammad. Accept him, and he is not asking any kind of wages from you. He is not asking for any compensation. He is doing this for the sake of Allah and for your own benefit. If you accept his message, you will benefit. He is not going to benefit. He is doing his job. He is doing his job, and like other prophets, he is not asking for any compensation from you. So it is for your own interest to accept him and to acknowledge his authority and be the people of God, the people of Prophet Muhammad. So this was given. You will find that for this reason, the stories of the prophets are mentioned mainly in Meccan period, to pass this message to the people of Mecca. Apart from that, in Meccan period we find that Quran started criticizing after, of course, confirming the belief in the minds of people. Allah is one, Muhammad is his messenger, and Akhirah, the life after death, is a certainty. There is no question about it. Then Quran criticized a certain of the actions and habits of Arabs, the bad ones. Say, for example, they used to kill people for no reason. Life was not safe. Tribes were at war with one another, and they didn't see anything wrong if they get control over the members of other tribe to kill them. So killing was very easy and common. Also, they even killed their children for the fear of feeding them, that where we have resources to feed them. Quran mentioned two things. First, that they were killing children, both male and female, for this fear. And then the other thing, that they were killing mainly daughters. because they thought, this is a tribal system. So any time a tribe is defeated, all its women and girls will be captured and will be used as slave girls. So this is a shame. This was considered to be a shame for them. So in order to avoid this happening, they thought it is better to kill the daughter from the very beginning. And Quran speaks about it, saying that on the day of judgment, sometimes they buried them alive. They were so careless and inhuman that they did not mind burying the daughters alive. So Quran speaks about it and says that when the buried alive daughters, girls, will be asked on the day of judgment, what were their mistakes? Why they were killed? Why their life was taken from them? So that was a very, very big offense which Makkans used to commit. So Quran spoke about it. And then another thing which was very common in this community, in the society, was to maltreat the orphans and widows. When the family loses the leader, it's a man. Now the wives and women become helpless, the children become helpless. So even the members of the family used to exploit them and misbehave with them. And orphans' money which their father left, it was taken by others. It was not passed to the children, to them. So Quran again and again speaks that, look, do not approach the money and wealth of orphan people. If you want to do anything, do good for them. Invest their property, invest their wealth. And if you are in need, you can use some portions of it, but do not usurp it completely and use the whole thing for yourself. And also in the meantime, criticizing the bad habits, don't tell lie, don't break promises, don't be haughty and arrogant, don't stamp on earth, you cannot create a hole in it, don't extend yourself, you cannot reach the height of sky and height of even mountain. So why should you waste your energy criticizing these bad actions and then commanding them and teaching them to be good? Do good to your parents. Your family should not suffer at your hand. Your parents are the one who need your help in the first place. And then also other relatives, if they are in need, help them and take care of orphans. Quran is very keen on this point, taking care of orphans and providing them with shelter and with all kind of supports. And then also not to cheat people, be just. Always follow the path of fair dealing. Be fair with everyone, whether enemy or friend. You must note that as far as justice and fair dealing is concerned, Quran does not make any difference between a Muslim and non-Muslim. It is your duty to be fair and to deal justly with everyone. No one should suffer at your hand because he does not belong to your tribe, he does not belong to your clan, or he is not your friend, he is your enemy. No, that is not something which we can create kind of discrimination in your mind. So all these things were taught in Makkah before the Prophet moves to Medina. The emphasis was there because this was the period where character was built. The personality was made for the individuals who are entering Islam. We will come to this point in more detail when we discuss the moral teachings of Islam. So this is how it was in Makkah. First, the basic belief system, and then secondly, some of the good teachings, some of the actions, behavior which the people were taught. In Medina, of course, the Quran gave detailed information about family life, about social life, about dealing with those people who do not belong to you, and all that. Legislation, law came in Medina. In Makkah there is no legal instruction. They were mainly basic things, and that is very important. If the person is firm in his belief, then he will be moving ahead, and he will be willing to accept any commandment, any instruction which come to him. Also, the rules and regulations concerning war, because in Makkah Muslims were oppressed. They had no power, no strength to challenge those who opposed them. They were really put under pressure, and those members of the Muslim community who had no support, no shelter, they were really treated very, very badly. It was in Makkah, but when they reached Medina, Medina became their state. They have their own identity now, their own state, their own entity. So now there is a community, Muslim community, which can meet the challenge of anyone. So now here was war. Then wars were fought between Muslims and their opponent, Muslims and Makkan Kafirs. And in the very first war, which took place at Badr, the unbelievers, they were defeated and Muslims became victorious. Then the question of booty of war came, and prisoner of war came, how they should be treated, and how the booty should be either taken and burned, destroyed, what is to be done. And the Quranic legislation came that the booty can be distributed among the warriors, and the prisoners of war, the Prophet decided, some people of the community wanted them to be killed, because they said that these are the very people who tortured us for 13 years in Makkah. Now we got hold of them. We should not rescue, should not leave them. We should kill them. They thought that these people deserve to be killing. Their life is not to be spared. They must be killed. But the Prophet ﷺ, whom Allah described in one of the verse, that Umar arsalnaka illa rahmatan lil alamin, that we have sent you as a mercy for the whole universe. He was the mercy intact, mercy embodied in his person. He did not like the idea of killing. So he decided that they can pay ransom and then leave. And then also it is on record that the people who could not pay ransom and they were able to read, they were given the task of teaching Muslims in Medina how to read, and then they can get their freedom by that way. And some of them were freed just by like that, without any ransom, without any compensation. So this was the first instant which Quran taught Muslims how to treat prisoners of war. And that was very kind action. That was very kind treatment. And then this is how it happened. And then also there were a group which emerged in Medina, the one who hid their real feeling. They claimed to be Muslim, but they were not Muslim. How Muslims should deal with them. The Prophet was instructed. Their character was exposed to him, and he was instructed how to deal with them without telling the community, because the community cannot always feel like the Prophet and cannot tolerate like the Prophet. If they know about someone that he is trying to cheat, they may go and kill him. So no, nobody should know. The Prophet knows. And then he was given instruction by Allah how to deal with them. And in detail, family rules and regulations were given. How women are to be married. And marriage is not a kind of sacrament. It is not something which cannot be dissolved. Marriage can be dissolved. But the dissolution of marriage should take a very nice way. That should not create hatred in the heart of the families concerned. No, the divorce can be announced, and divorce should have a period of waiting in which maybe the man or the woman change their mind and they decide to come together. So there was a provision given after divorce, after separation. And Allah says, at-talaqu marratan, that divorce must be given separately, one after the other. And the number was limited to 3. That 3 divorce, if given separately, of course, one after the other, having the chance of revocation, then it is all right. Otherwise, if 3 are announced and no returning was made, then the wife becomes haram, illegal for the man, and he cannot remarry her. But inside the waiting period or outside the waiting period, after the first and second divorce, a husband was allowed to take back his wife. And then also when the person dies, in Uhud many Muslims were killed. They left orphans behind, they left widows behind. So Quran encouraged the Muslim community to help them by marrying those widows. And it was there that it allowed to marry a man up to 4 wives, to absorb those members in the community who get no supporter, no supervisor. They can become wife of someone and then live in his house. And then if a person dies, then how his legacy, his assets are to be distributed. Rules and regulations were given about these things as well. So family rules and regulations, they come in Madinan Surah. And also in transaction, how the transactions are to be done. Quran recommends that any transaction between 2 parties must be documented, must be written and witnessed by 2 people. That will not leave a chance for any dispute in future. And also some obligatory duties were announced here in Makkah. Fasting was prescribed in Medina, Some rules and regulations, some obligatory duties, some duties were assigned to Muslims in Medina. Fasting, for example. Prayer, we learned that prayer was established in Makkah, but of course no congregation was made there because the Makkans wouldn't allow that. So Muslims could not come together near Kaaba or any other place to make jama'ah, to make congregational prayer. But in Medina they could. But apart from prayer, fasting was established in Medina. Pilgrimage was there in Medina again, because of course Makkah was under the control of those unbelievers. They wouldn't allow Muslims to come and then make pilgrimage. So it waited until Makkah was conquered and came in the control of Muslims. So these things were done in Medina. Now in the first thing the Muslims did, or the Prophet ﷺ did, as a matter of fact, the Prophet ﷺ did, the first thing which the Prophet did in Medina was to build a mosque. That was very important, to build a mosque, to make it a meeting point for Muslims, a center for any consultation, for any gathering, for any dispute even, for any solution of problems, even for marriage and divorce and such things, they should take place so that all the members of the community know about it. So mosque was a central point. The mosque of the Prophet ﷺ was really not only a mosque for prayer, but it was used as a parliament where matters were discussed among the members. It was used as a prison. A kafir arrested somewhere was brought and then was tied with one column of the mosque. It was also used as a place where the army prepared itself to go to fight. So all other purposes which were concerning the community, they were decided, they were done in the mosque. So this is how the function of the mosque should be even today. So all these things came in Medina. So these rules and regulations come in Medina, but basic things were taught in Makkah. And also you can see we have already spoken about the style. The style of Meccan passages differ from those of Medina. Any other thing?
Do you have anything else?
No? Oh. No, I think there's that thing. One should always remember that we spoke that in Makkah the emphasis of the Quran was on belief in one God, in one Allah, not to associate anyone with Him, and to obey all the command which He sends to His messenger and what His messenger says. That thing continued in Medina. It doesn't mean that since it was emphasized in Makkah it was neglected. No, it continued. And then in Medina also it was said that any action, any work, any deed will not be accepted, will not carry any value unless it agrees with the teachings of Allah and the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. So all these things were there. The belief in the hereafter, in the life after death, also mentioned in Medina. So it was not only in Makkah, no. But in Makkah, because of the beginning, that it was really to give the moral strength to the community, those matters were emphasized and implanted in the hearts of those new members who became Muslims in Makkah. Okay, anything? Your questions, bring them.
Yeah, I've got quite a few actually.
They are really Azhari people, learned. They extemporally they can go ahead. The man made half an hour a dua. Everybody is crying. So powerful, so beautiful. So this is how it is. Ihsan does not mean that you do good if someone does good to you. No, that is a very minor thing. But ihsan means that if someone does bad to you, you should answer by doing good to him.